Crochet Collections channel. Today we are going to learn how to make a hexagon with the Puff Stitch. What you need is a 3mm crochet hook, some scissors, and a tapestry needle for weaving in all your ends. Once you've got all of these materials, let's head over to the table and get started. See you soon! In order to begin the Hexagon Coaster, we want to take our yarn, wrap it around our finger just like that, take our hook, go underneath, and drop a loop. We are going to then carefully take it off our fingers, yarn over, and then chain one. And that starts off the magic loop. And because we are working this left-handed, we are just turning the magic loop around so that the yarn faces outward. The tail, anyway. So grab the tail and just carefully pull it out just like that. And we are ready to start row 1. We are going to begin row 1 by chaining 1. And now we'll bring it up to a total of 2 chains for the beginning of the row. Now because we are working with a small amount of fabric, it may get a little difficult to start all of your puff stitches in the magic ring, so just take your time while you are doing this. And to create the very first puff stitch, we are just going to take our hook and our yarn. We are going to yarn over, go underneath both strands of yarn, and pull up a loop. We're going to yarn over again, go into both of those strands, and pull up a loop. We are going to do it one more time, so yarn over, pull up a loop, go underneath, and pull up another loop. So once you've got all of those loops on your hook, we are just going to yarn over again and carefully pull through all of those loops. And to make things easier, I would recommend making your loops a little bigger each time, just so that your hook isn't straining against all of those hooks. All of those loops as you are pulling the yarn through. And we are going to finish by yarning over and chain 1. So there we go. That is how you create your first puff stitch of the row. To continue on, we are just going to yarn over, go underneath both of those strands again, and pull up a loop. You should have 3 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over, go underneath, and pull up another loop. We are going to do this one more time, so yarn over, go underneath both strands of those loops, and pull up another loop. So you should have done that for a total of 3 times. To finish off, we are just going to yarn over and very carefully pull through all of those loops. So there we go. There's the second puff stitch. You want to continue on and create 4 more puff stitches within your magic ring. And just remember, you are working over both of those strands of yarn. And 3. And you are doing it 3 times. Just remember to keep your loops loose. Pull through all of those strands. And this will be a good example why your strands might be a bit tight, and why you need to have loose strands as you go through to make it less difficult to pull through. And then finish it off by yarning over and pulling through that last chain. So I'll meet you guys back and we can close up the circle, and then we can start working on that hexagon. So I have just finished working all of my puff stitches, and we should have a total of 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We are going to finish this last one up by yarning over and pulling through. So there we go. To close off your circle, just take this little tail right here and pull it tight. And it might take a little bit just to pull it tight, but trust me, it's well worth it to not have a tiny gap in your little coaster. So there we go. We're going to close it off by taking our hook and inserting it through that very first stitch at the top, inserting it carefully. And I am going to be working over my yarn, over my tail. So there we go. We're going to yarn over and finish it off with a slip stitch. So there we go. And our little hexagon is just now forming. For row 2, we are just going to be increasing all the way around. So what we want to do is take our hook and slip stitch into the next space. So there we go. And we want to chain 1. To do an increase, we are just going to yarn over, go into that same space where we came out of, and complete a puff stitch. So yarn over again, pull through, pull up a loop, and then yarn over one more time, go through, oops, and pull up a loop. Once you've got all your loops on your hook, you just want to yarn over and pull through all of those loops. So there we go. So instead of chaining 1 and continuing on, we are going to chain 2 and do another puff stitch right into the same space right here. And that follows the basic increasing pattern for the circle or working in the round. So there's 1, yarn over, there's 2, yarn over, pull up another loop, and there's 3. Once you got all those loops, just yarn over again and go through all of those loops. So that would be the pattern for the rest of this second row. And just don't forget to chain 1 at the end of that last loop. So we have 2 right here. We're going to move on to this next space, which is right here in between these little puff stitches. And we're going to do another increase. 3. And there we go. Yarn over, close it up, and chain 2. Yarn over, go into that same stitch again, or that same space, and do another puff stitch. And that will be the pattern for the rest of round 2. So go ahead and go all the way around. Now we'll meet you back and show you how to close up row 2. And there's my third. One last tip is that, as you can see, I am making my loops nice and big, so that makes it easier for me to pull through. So I have just finished my last puff stitch of the round, and what I want to do to close it up is yarn over and chain 1. To close this one up, we are just going to take our hook and repeat what we did for round 1, was go into the top stitch, just like that, of your first puff stitch of the round. So once you've done that, just yarn over, pull through, and close it up with a slip stitch. And that is what round 2 should look like. And as you can see, it is starting to take shape of a little hexagon. Round 3 is pretty simple. All we're going to do is take our hook and slip stitch into that space right there. We are going to chain 1 and do an increase right into this space. So yarn over and do your puff stitch. So there's your first puff stitch, chain 2, and do another puff stitch right into this space right here. So just remember to keep your loops nice and loose, and that will make it a lot easier to pull through all of your loops. So there's my second puff stitch. I'm going to chain 1, and instead of increasing in the next puff stitch right here, we are going to do 1 puff stitch. And when you come to a chain 2, which should look something like this, you are going to do an increase. So just remember, create your puff stitch, and instead of chaining 1, we are going to yarn over and chain 2. And then yarn over and create another puff stitch right into that space. There's my third. We're going to finish off with a chain 1 and do 1 single puff stitch into that next space. Like I said before, once you've got the hang of yarning over and pulling up a loop, it should go pretty quickly for you after that. Just pull through all those loops and chain 1. We've come to a corner again, so we're going to yarn over and do an increase. So once you guys got this quarter done, I will let you go, and we will just repeat this pattern for the rest of row 1, 2, 3. And as you've just seen, in order to count your rows, you just count the little puff stitches that are poking out. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. We are going to work the last puff stitch of the row right in between this space right here. So go ahead and do that. So there's 1, 2, and 3. So once you've got your last puff stitch done, just remember to chain 1 and then slip stitch into the top of the chain 2 again, right into this puff stitch right here. Slip stitch into the next space, chain 1, and we are ready to do row 4. So row 4 is going to be pretty similar to how we did the previous 2 rows. So go ahead and yarn over and do a puff stitch right into that space. Once you've got your puff stitch, chain 2, and we are going to work another puff stitch right into the same space. Don't forget to add your chain 1 at the end of that second puff stitch. So if you look closely, you can see that there are 2 little spaces in between each of these puff stitches. You are going to work 1 single puff stitch into each of those spaces, and you will do this all the way around until you reach the end of your row. Just remember that in the corners, you will also do an increase. And an increase is exactly what we did right here, which is 2 puff stitches in the same space with a chain 2. So I think you guys have the hang of this right now. So I'm going to go ahead and let you go. And go ahead and do 2 more rows of increasing, and that would bring us to a total of 6 increased rows. And I'll meet you back and we can do a little border for the Hexagon Coaster. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. Once your 6 rows are complete, your hexagon should be big enough for a coaster size. To finish off this row, I am just going to yarn over and do 1 more puff stitch right into this stitch right here. And that is going through the space. And there's my last one. So I'm just going to yarn over and pull through all of those loops. Finish it off by yarning over and chaining 1. And then go into the top of that last puff stitch. So if you want, you can now chain 1 and single crochet all the way around to add a border. So to do that, I'm just going to start right there. And I'm going to do 3 in that corner. And that makes it nice and round. And then I'm just going to work a single crochet across each of these spaces right here. And I'm also going to be working through the top of that puff stitch. So if you want, you guys can cut your yarn and weave that in, but I am going to go ahead and add a little border to my hexagon. And that just makes it look a little neater to finish off. Just remember that when we get to a corner, we add 3 single crochets, and that just rounds off. I'll see you guys in a little bit. So you can create this coaster using a variation of varied colors, or you can do it in solid colors. And I just use plain DK cotton yarn for this coaster. Or if you want to make it bigger, just use a bigger hook size. Again, I used a 3mm hook and DK white yarn, and you just need 50 grams for this little coaster. So I will put a link down below, which is right down there, for the original pattern, which is by TLC or Tony from TLC and her channel. So I will go ahead and put a link there for you guys to check it out. So thank you so much, and I hope you guys have enjoyed learning how to create this hexagon coaster, or this little hexagon, whatever you want to turn it into. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you all next week. Bye!